All right, this one's for all the helpers out there. You know who you are. Teachers, nurses, counselors, social workers. Basically, if your entire job is about taking care of other people, you need to hear this. We're going to talk about how to get beyond just surviving in your career and actually start thriving.
Look, your greatest strength, the thing that makes you incredible at what you do, is your empathy, right? It's that ability to connect, to really feel what your students or patients are going through. It's the engine that drives everything.
But here's the big question. What if that very same strength is also your biggest vulnerability? What happens when that deep well of compassion you draw from starts to feel, well, a little empty?
That brings us to what we're calling the helper's dilemma. This is all about the real cost of caring, and it's a professional hazard that you've probably felt deep in your bones, even if you didn't have a name for it.
And that name is compassion fatigue. You can think of your empathy like a battery. Every single day, you're plugging it in to help other people, especially people who are hurting. And if you're not recharging it, that battery is going to get depleted. You're left feeling emotionally and physically just spent. It is literally the cost of caring.
And this is exactly what that feels like. You pour every last drop of yourself into your work, and when you finally get home, there is nothing left. Not for you, not for your family, not for your own well-being. And you know the craziest part? The moment you even try to take a little time for yourself, you're hit with this wave of guilt, maybe even resentment. It's a tough cycle.
So, how do we break out of this? Well, it all starts with a really important shift in how we think about self-care. Let's call it the oxygen mask principle.
You know, a lot of us in helping professions are driven by this idea, right? This deep need to serve other people. But we always seem to forget that last part of the phrase, as thyself. The whole idea is built on the fact that your own well-being is the foundation for being able to care for anyone else. Exactly. It's not about loving your neighbor more than yourself. And it's not about loving them less, either. It's about finding that balance, that equilibrium. See, self-care is not selfish. It's actually the key to being able to keep on giving. And this is the perfect way to think about it. You've heard it a million times on an airplane. In an emergency, put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. And why is that? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you're no good to anybody. The exact same thing is true for your job. You just can't pour from an empty cup.
Okay, so we get the why now. It makes sense. So let's talk about the how. A really good wellness plan has to be holistic. It needs to cover 3 essential parts of who you are. And here they are: the body, the mind, and the spirit. To really take care of yourself, you need a plan that has simple, realistic things you can do to nurture all 3 of these pillars. So let's start with the body. I mean, it's the physical vessel you use to do all your amazing work, so you have to care for it. That means thinking about the food you eat, finding ways to move that feel good. Maybe it's just taking the stairs because you can. And this is a big one: getting enough good quality rest. Let's zero in on sleep for a second, because it's one of the most powerful things we can control. The problem is, bedtime is often when our brain decides to replay every mistake we made that day, right? So here's a little 5-step routine to try. First, wind down for 30 minutes. No screens. Then, think of 3 good things that happened. Next, do a quick body scan, just releasing tension from your toes all the way up. Then, just watch your breath. And if your mind still won't shut up, gently redirect it to something simple and boring, like a routine task. All right, next up, the mind. Taking care of your mind is kind of like managing a diet. You have to be really intentional about what you're consuming. So that means doing more of the stuff that actually nourishes you, like reading a good book or learning something new, and consciously doing less of the stuff that just drains you, like getting sucked into gossip or mindlessly scrolling through social media or watching sensationalized news. And finally, the spirit. Now, this doesn't have to be about religion. It's about whatever gives you a sense of joy and meaning. A sacred space can be anywhere that lets you be totally present. Maybe it's a walk in the woods, or messing around in your workshop, or just getting lost in some music. It's about finding that state of flow, where time just disappears and you can just be. Okay, so having all these ideas is fantastic, but we all know that good intentions don't always translate into action. So to make this real, your plan needs a little structure, and that's where the SMART framework is so helpful. This is how you make it stick. Your plan needs to be specific. So don't just say, I'll get more sleep. Say, I will start my 5-step wind down routine at 10 p.m. every night. Make it measurable.
I'll take the stairs 3 times this week. Make sure it's assignable, realistic for where you are right now, and timely. Using this framework keeps self-care from becoming just another thing on your to-do list that stresses you out.
We've got a solid plan, but there's one last piece of the puzzle. And honestly, for a lot of helpers, this is the toughest one of all. Think about it. Your whole professional identity, maybe even your personal identity, is built around giving help. So learning how to ask for it and actually accept it, that can feel so unnatural. It can almost feel like you're failing. But learning to receive is absolutely essential if you want to keep giving. So we'll leave you with this to think about. If you had a magic lantern and you could have 3 wishes for help, what would you ask for? Just letting yourself answer that question honestly is the first real step in learning the art of receiving. And that, in the end, is what will allow you to keep doing the work you were meant to do for a long, long time.